So last but certainly not least is Maria from HS2, another one of Even Break's favourite clients. We have lots of favourite clients. Actually, many of you are in the room thinking about it. And Maria has done lots of work at HS2 to make the assessment process more accessible. Shall I just put your slide on there?
Oh gosh, I'm so sorry, it looks so small.
Do you want to come and stand up here then?
I apologize for the text being so small. It's not very accessible, but I can talk you through it point by point if you like. My name is Maria and I am the EDI Workforce Manager at HS2's. I wear my disability badge with a lot of pride. I pride myself in, identify myself as a disabled person as per the social model of disability. And actually, I'm very proud to be here to be talking about what we do at HS2 because I came through the process myself. So I speak with authority and knowledge about everything that we do to try and include everybody, regardless of ability, in our workforce. So obviously, to start with, HS2 was a very attractive proposition for me when I started looking for alternative employment. I was in employment already, but I wasn't feeling very included. I wasn't feeling very happy in my role. So what attracted me to HS2 initially was that it showed that they had an inclusive website, that they won lots of awards, and that they are disability confident leaders. So that was interesting. Then I looked at the career website and I saw that the job descriptions were very interesting because they were very plain and very clear, very concise and very short. So I thought, oh, okay, I'm going to give it a go. So what happened was I saw the role, I applied for the role, just sending my CV in. And what happened, I received an interesting email saying, you could be a potential candidate for this role. If you're interested in going further, would you be interested in taking in doing a task for us, in doing an assessment with us? Tell us if you have any accessibility needs. So I replied back and I said, yes, I'm interested in going further. At this point, if the test is, I am severely deaf, so if the test involves video, can you please include subtitles? But anything else, I really don't need anything at this stage. So I did a test and I sent in my answers. And then 2 days later, I received another email saying, you were successful in your first test. So would you like to do another to go to the next stage? And I thought, this is very interesting. And also it was really interesting because the test was very pertinent to my role, to the role I was applying for. So it was clear that they were actually looking for people who could actually do the job. So that really filled me with enthusiasm because there was no preconception about, who I was, what I looked like, if I was a woman, if I sound different, if I sound foreign. It was all based on my ability to do the task and to do the job. So I went to the next stage, and then I found out that basically that was the process of blind auditioning. So I was shortlisted. I was one of 6. And I was invited to an interview with plenty of notice. I was asked if I had any accessibility needs. And at which point I clearly stated, I am severely deaf. I need to be able to lip read people. I don't need sign language interpreters, but it would be great if people can speak up and speak clearly, etc. And so I did the interview and I got the role, and I ended up working for this amazing EDI team. And I'm very, very proud to be a part of the story of HS2 in terms of what we're going to create for the country. So one of the things that when I started the job, I was immediately very impressed because, again, what we had was job descriptions that were very inclusive. So rather than putting in subjective criteria, we eliminated all of that. I'll give you an example. No, you probably see in lots of job descriptions that people ask for fantastic interpersonal skills. Now, how do you assess fantastic? And how do you assess good interpersonal skills? So the best way of asking people to demonstrate the interpersonal skills is to give examples of how they work with people, how they communicate with people, and show off their communication skills, either by presenting something or talking to someone, etc. So that immediately removed a huge barrier in terms of potential bias, because what is fantastic for me could be, not very good for someone else, with a different expectation of what fantastic sounds like or should be like. So by removing that, that criteria that is very subjective, that can cause a lot of bias, immediately the job description is much more inclusive. Also, another thing that we did was we introduced an automatic way of asking people with confidence if they had any assist needs or if they needed any workplace adjustment at all. We didn't even use the word reasonable adjustment, because reasonable also can be interpreted differently by people. So one of the things that we did, we used a system called Clear Talent, both at the recruiting stage and then on the job. So the system captures the need that is requested, and then you have the option to either choose to tell your line manager about it or not. It will be kept confidential on a need-to-know basis, only purely for the scope of introducing adjustments. So for me, that can get people to feel more confident about asking for adjustments. And also another thing that we did is, when we wanted to collect our data in terms of how many disabled people we have in the workforce, obviously, as you can imagine, people will not disclose that. There is still culturally a lot of stigma on the word disability. So one of the things that we did, for example, we looked at our Oracle data that captures disability information purely from an HR standpoint, and the data was really terrible. We only had 2% disabled people in our workforce. So what we did, we started looking at adjustments that were made for people, and that turns out that we actually have 17% people with disabilities in our workforce. And that changed things massively, because it gives us a lot of confidence that we actually are inclusive for disabled people. It's just that people choose not to share their status, and that's okay. The other thing that we also do is we have an accessible and inclusive website. We also have featured in our website, we feature case studies. We feature, I am one of them, I'll talk about myself. And also, we also talk about, again, we reiterate all the adjustments that can be made, different kinds of roles, etc. And also we make very clear why it's important to recruit diversity, specifically pertinent to the construction and engineering industry, which is the industry in which we are. Over the next 10 years, when we will be at the height of constructions, 1/3 of our workforce will retire. So we really have to recruit more inclusively, because otherwise we're not going to meet that shortfall. It is not a good thing to do. It is an imperative thing to do for us to be more inclusive, because otherwise we wouldn't have enough people to build the railway. The other thing that we do is we have advertised all our jobs on Eventbrite. I absolutely love working with Jane and Even Break because they really do walk the talk. And I feel confident that she will chase me if I need to follow up on something. So I love that because sometimes we are so busy in our EDI role that sometimes we forget to do things, and she is fantastic at reminding us. But in a very supportive way, what are the other steps that we can take to really make sure that we spread out a message of inclusiveness in our recruitment process? Another thing that we've done is we have specifically sort of trained our recruiters. So we have given formal training, and all our recruiters, internal recruiters, are now certified diverse recruiters. So that is really important because we have one of them, at least one of them, sit in every interview panel that takes place. So they make sure that the process of hiring and the process of interviewing and selection is inclusive, because it is very difficult. We have many managers. We have about 500 managers and hiring managers. So it's very prohibitive for us to recruit, to train everybody. It's not cost effective. But at least by having one certified recruiter in the panel, they can keep an eye on proceedings and make sure that everybody is following the inclusive recruitment procedure. So we have a way that we sift through the blind auditions, a way that we ask the same question consistently, and we take notes of every interviewee and their answers, so that everybody is judged on an equal level. And I think that gives people confidence that they are recruited fairly and on the basis of their ability. We also have apprenticeship programs. We also recruit them through blind auditioning, and it's fantastic because they're completely diverse. And by doing this, we now have something like 50-50 gender balance in our apprenticeship schemes. BAME are at about 29%, which is very close to the actual population of the UK. So we are very proud that that is very inclusive. In terms of our workforce, we still have some way to get there. But considering that it is, an engineering and construction industry, having about 38% women isn't bad, and we definitely lead in the industry. The other thing I wanted to share with you was that we have also a leadership discovery program that has EDI embedded throughout. So we train our leaders and our managers, and we give them case studies that involve adjustments for disabled people, and they have to work in groups to understand and talk to each other in terms of how they will solve these problems. There's plenty of opportunities for discussions and for learning, and I think that also gives me confidence that our future leaders will be much more open and much more inclusive. We also have a reverse mentoring program where we have people that are more junior and from different ethnicities and disability paired up with members of the senior leadership team. And that's really important because it exposes our senior leadership team, who are not so diverse. We expose them to a difference of thought, of backgrounds and abilities. So that also is really important in influencing the culture. The other thing, we have a EDI employee network. So we have a specific Together network, which is all our, some of our disabled employees, they get together and they chat. They have hangouts every month. It's getting better in terms of numbers and participation, and it's a good place to talk to someone about difficulties in any adjustments or anything that concerns you, specifically about working as a disabled person in your role. So there was one more thing that I wanted to share with you, and specifically in reference to the third point that Jane referred to earlier. If you recall, she said there is not much we can do, unfortunately, about the lack of confidence. However, I believe that there is something that we can do. So, for example, research shows that when you look at, I say this because we have this problem at HS2. Our senior leadership team is not very diverse. So what we are doing to try and improve on that, we've looked at the research that shows that at very competitive levels, very senior levels, when you have a competitive recruitment process, no matter how accessible it is, you will still have a high level of dropouts from women, people who are returning from a long break, whether it's to do with disability or maternity or paternity. And also BAME and disabled people tend to drop out of the competitive process much, much sooner. So one of the things that we're trying to address this is we're going to start a new program of coaching from the new financial year, which will offer coaching, but confidentially. So if anybody takes up the offer of coaching between our candidates in terms of progression, we will not know about it. We will know only the data and the people who, some of the data or statistics about the population that has taken up coaching, but we will not know the individuals. So that's really important because research shows that, for example, women, for example, tend to apply for jobs only when they feel absolutely confident that they cover at least 90% of the criteria. And the same research shows that men do apply for jobs when they feel around about 50% confident of covering 50% of the criteria. So this also causes, when you look at the cohort of people who are applying for jobs, it's already less diverse to begin with. So we want to make sure that in our shortlist we have more women, more people with different ethnic backgrounds, and more disabled people. So I really feel that, I guess what I'm trying to say is, this is all very, very well and good. We are trying, but we still have a long way to go. And I say this as a woman, as a disabled person, as someone with an accent, as a mum. We still have some barriers, and not just in HS2, but in every workplace. And I think it's really important that people understand that no one has a completely easy path. Every individual has their own differences and their own difficulties or hang-ups, or mental health issues, or disabilities that are more physical, disabilities that are less visible. So I think it's really important to understand that nobody is born with 100% confidence. And the being confident, really what it's about is about working with those issues every day and just trying to do your best every day, and knowing that you still have to work at it. And I hope that you will take the offer of support from Eventbrite to become a more inclusive employer, because you will discover fantastic talent and you will see that it will really benefit you as a whole as employers. So thank you.